This is Celebrity Court of Public Opinion.
And I'm Al Reynolds, your host and judge.
Each show, there are 4 celebrity cases, 3 real attorneys, 1 verdict, guilty or not guilty. This is Celebrity Court of Public Opinion.
A-listers, come on in. All my A-listers, come on in. Please, everybody, come on in. Today is Thursday, June 25th. Can you guys believe that the month of June is almost over? That means half of the year will be complete in only 5 days. But I want all of you guys, come on in. Everybody, come on in. And right off the bat, we got a super chat from Caramel 1977. Cancer, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's see if I can bring it up here. Thank you so much for this. Wait a minute, what happened? All right, here we go. All right, we're still working out some kinks. Thank you so much for the super chat. Who else is here with us? Sandra McGee. Sandra McGee, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. Brian and Simone Adams. Always love saying that name. Shatan is here. All right. SL Warrior. Hello. Sharonia, a.k.a. This is me. Come on in here, Sharonia. I love seeing it. Delaria Washington. Come on in. Kim Hayes. What's up, Kim Hayes? So glad to have you tonight. Essie Stone, so good to see that name. Come on in. Afroscenes, are you back from New York? All right, I need to know, how did that set go last night? Val Rice, come on in. Miss Rail, I see you. Come on in here, Miss Rail. Melania, why do I keep messing up? Melina, come on in here, Melina from North Carolina. This finna be a good time. Hey, listeners and Judge Al. Nisha Phillips, Nisha, so good. I'm following what's going on with you and your family on Instagram. I hope everything is okay. And Techie Tara 84, come on in here, Techie Tara, love to see it. Glammy Brown, come on in, because tonight, baby, the docket is dirty, all right? We have Takeoff's parents. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Takeoff's parents are fighting over the wrongful death settlement money that the family is supposed to get. And on top of that, Sexyy Red says $500,000 in valuables disappeared from a birthday retreat that she had in a rental. She rented a home, I think it's in Florida, to have a birthday. She said her bags and all her friends' bags were stolen. Tonight's human interest story is somewhat of a sad story because it's about a 1-year-old baby. His name is Kohen Wiley. He's dead after police fired into a vehicle outside of Mississippi Walmart. We're going to learn about that story. Jelly Roll, y'all know Jelly Roll. Well, Jelly Roll has decided that he wants a divorce from Bunnie XO. Bunnie XO, you gotta go, according to Jelly Roll. And the last story of the night has been heating up the daggone social media like no other story we've seen in a long time, and that is about Big Tigger. Now, Big Tigger is speaking out after being arrested on battery and child cruelty charges. I can't wait to figure out the details there, because what we thought was one way, she took it back, and then he gets arrested. We're going to unpack all of that tonight. Now, remember, this is not a press release. This is not crisis management. This is definitely not the group chat where everybody agrees to be polite. We don't have to be polite here because we are public opinion, Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. So we decide, right? This is Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. I bring the mess. The lawyers bring the law. And the A-listers, that's you. You decide who's guilty or who's not guilty. I'm Judge Al Reynolds. And guess what? Court is now in session. Now, this is going to be interesting. I need your help, A-listers. Please be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you're already subscribed, hit the share button. Invite some folks over to enjoy the show. Don't forget to turn on your notifications. And as always, jump down in the chat because we love to see you in the chat. Now, if you're watching live, jump in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. All right, I need that. And as always, tonight I have 3 real attorneys with me. And thank God, because this docket is legally messy and emotionally loud. Counselors, welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Hey, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Happy to be here.
All right, excellent. Tonight I need plain English. I don't need no legal tap dancing and no filibustering. You understand? The law asks, can you prove it? Public opinion asks, what does it look like? And black folks like me, we ask now, who raised you and why is this in the street? This is exactly where this show is going to start living, and I want you to know that. Now, I got to do this, a quick legal note, before anybody's lawyer starts screen recording and sending me a cease and desist. Allegations are not convictions. lawsuit are not verdicts. Everyone discussed tonight in this courtroom is presumed innocent in the court of law until proven otherwise. But the best thing about celebrity court of public opinion is that we don't have to wait. We can still have an opinion, right? So we examine behavior, we examine optics, legal exposure, cultural context, and the question everybody is already asking: how in the hell did you end up in celebrity court? All right, everybody ready? Be sure to
ready to go.
Ready to go. All right, let's hit it. All right, first up, everybody, let's start off with Takeoff. Now, this is very interesting to me, and I can't wait for the lawyers to give me their perspective. It's painful because Takeoff is not here to speak for himself, and I don't really like talking on people that have passed because they can't really defend themselves, but we can talk about this because it's about his parents. Now, reports say his parents are fighting over a wrongful death settlement money connected to his killing. So we're talking about big bucks are in talk here. Now, his mother reportedly says that she raised him, she loved him, she supported him, and she financially took care of him until he was an adult. She also threw a little shade and said she was present during his life. Now, his father, he said, but listen, I'm the father. The father is also seeking a share. And that is where grief walks into the courtroom holding a calculator. Because when celebrities die, the public, like us, we want to know about the legacy. He wrote some great music. He charted. He made history with his bandmates or his whatever you call them. The family, though, they have to talk about the money. And right now, they can't get any solution until they go to court. Now, the court is one thing, but the street is another, and the street is us. We want to know, how does this happen? Now, let me say this carefully. A person can be a parent on paper and still be questioned in public opinion. That's what we're doing about this father, because the father, where were you doing his rearing? Why are you all of a sudden coming and expecting to be paid now? Now, the law may say parent, but the public in here, we want to see receipts. And in our community, we know the difference between someone who gave you a name and someone who showed up when the lights were off and the bills were due. This is a mess. I'm going to throw to you, Sean Carter. Explain to me what's going on here now. Was his dad completely not in his life? Because that's the question I need to know. And is he showing up now for a money grab? Talk to us, counselor.
Absolutely. The mother would say you wouldn't recognize your son if you saw him in a police lineup. All right, you had nothing to do with this boy. And what happens is, remember, unfortunately, Takeoff was tragically killed at a bowling alley over a dispute about a dice game that he wasn't even playing in. All right, he just happened to catch a stray. And so what ended up happening was the mother files a wrongful death lawsuit against the bowling alley and says, hey, you should have had more security. You invited Migos. You know they don't know how to act. You need to have more security. And sure enough, the insurance company or for the bowling alley said, hey, look, we're fine. We'll settle this, right? We don't know the number, but several $1 million. Here's the money. The father comes in and says, hey, I want some of that money. And the bowling alley says, look, I'm not going to try to figure out who gets this money and who's a bad dad or whatever. Here's a big bag of money. Y'all just figure out this. And so now they're fighting between the two of them, because unlike other things, think of wrongful death lawsuit like black people going out to dinner together. See, when white people go out to dinner together, they just split the bill or somebody pays. But black people, we only going to get our individual portion, right? And so basically now the mother and the father sit there and put their receipts out and say, look, I spent this time with him. One of the big things is, who was he supporting? Who's going to miss out on the money he was bringing in the most? That's a big part of the wrongful death.
Right.
To my knowledge, he wasn't paying his father nothing. He had nothing to do with the father, right? And so the father's going to have a hard time trying to prove, but he's got to prove that he has some damage. He missed his baby that he never spent no time with, or that he thought he was going to get some checks. He knew his boy was about to give him some money soon, and he just didn't get around to it. But each party has to prove that they have something, they lost something here.
Okay, so let's go to you, Jason. In plain English, is a wrongful death settlement, does the court automatically split it because one's a dad and one's a mom, or does it look at the actual relationship? How does the court determine that?
All right, so just taking one quick step back. He wasn't married and he didn't have kids, because that's the order in a wrongful death, how you distribute the funds. If he was married, the spouse would get it. If a kid was involved, the kid would get it. So then they look to the next step, which is the parents. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to put the parents back in the position that they would have been in if he was still on this planet and supporting them. So there is no start. The starting point is not 50-50 and let's move from there. The starting point is he paid for mom's house. He paid mom's mortgage. He paid mom's prescriptions. Dad, he would send a holiday card with no check and a stamp. So, you know, dad could get 0.1% and mom could get 99.9%. So that's what it's going to look at. The court is trying to make it as if he was still here, the people that relied upon him are not suffering. And that's where wrongful death, because if there was no mom, no dad, no kid, no spouse, nobody would have a claim for wrongful death. So they're going to look, they're going to say he bought mom his house. He did this with mom. He drove her around. He bought her a car. She's going to get a majority. He'll probably get something, but it's going to be very minimal.
Okay. So let me ask this question, because just talking off the top of my head. So if the dad was not in his life because his dad was in prison, can we really beat up the dad for not being present?
Well,
Attorney Turner?
I mean, the dad is making the parent argument, and I think what the other attorneys have established is that he's really in the pathetic category. If he were in prison and Takeoff, you know, had a relationship with him, then that would be different. But if he was just ghost and they had no relationship, then the court is going to evaluate why, you know, he should take under this settlement. The reason why they're going to court is because it's not a slam dunk, right? Everybody gets to present evidence to indicate how this money should be distributed, and the court will consider it. Now, it's interesting because the intestate law in Texas, which is the law for inheritance when you die without a will, that does presume the hierarchy that was discussed and that the parents would be equal because they're on the level together, which is no wife, no children, and then you get to the parents. And so under the intestate law, it is presumed that they would divide it equally because it's a function of relationship and not contribution. But all of the evidence that was discussed will be considered by the judge. And like I said, I think that a judge who thinks will be appalled by the notion that the father is attempting to profit from the guy's death when he didn't contribute to his life.
This is interesting. Okay, so Attorney Turner, tell me here, what's the lesson for my A-listers as it relates to possibly being in a situation like this?
If you're talking about it from, you know, the victim's perspective, don't go to bowling alleys. But if you're talking about it from the mom's perspective, you know, make sure that you keep track of your contributions, really is the case. But if you're talking about from the dad's perspective, and I know you give me a hard time, but really, dude, really? You have the audacity to show up and say, give me, when you did not give anything to the guy when he was alive. Like, I just think that people are missing a empathy chip, right? The mom already lost her son and she loved him. And it's evidenced by the fact that they had a relationship. And now this person who was the equivalent of a sperm donor is saying, well, I deserve to get paid too. So I don't know how he's going to go into the streets and have any cred, but hopefully people shun him.
I think Attorney Carter and Attorney Weiss, this is what I say. You know, being the judge here in public opinion, celebrity court, when you start making money, get your financial house in order, do a will, get your life insurance. Like, you need to, like, these young, wealthy Black men who only make this type of money at this age is like only 3 to 10%. They're entertainers. Spend money less on your jewelry, less on your cars, less on your hoes, and get your financial life together. Get your legal life together. It does not cost this much money so that you could have at minimum protected your mother from your daddy's hands. All right, let's go to the A-listers. A-listers, vote right now. I need you right now. Is Takeoff's father guilty in public opinion of being a using this opportunity as a money grab? I just want to check, test the waters right now. Everybody jump down in the chat if you're watching us tonight. From what you heard, is Takeoff's father doing a little bit of a money grab here? Drop down in the chat. Let me know what you thought, what your thoughts are on this, because he really wasn't there. What do you think this is? Is this a money grab for him, or is he saying, hey, that's my son, I helped make him, and if I help make him, I deserve some money too? All right, so most of the women are saying guilty. Okay, most of the women guilty. All right, Kim Hayes guilty, Tracy Odom guilty, Sandra McGee guilty. All right, Velpa P says, I'm with you when you're right, Al. All right, come on, Velpa P. All right, let's see. SL Warrior says guilty. All right, so we're not buying this. We're not buying this daddy story. We're simply not. Well, this is my preliminary ruling. This case is guilty on proven death does not end family conflict. I know that for sure. And definitely not if you're from the type of family that Takeoff is from. I just really feel like that if you were not present in his life, do not be shocked when people side-eye you and find you guilty in celebrity court because they think you're all about the money. What y'all say, attorneys, y'all agree?
Yes, Your Honor.
Absolutely.
I just want to make clear.
What's going on here? Order in the court. Are my attorneys awake? What's going on? I need some energy out here. All right.
I just want to make clear that we don't.
Speaking of,
we're only getting half the story here because understand that the money we're talking about that they're fighting over is the wrongful death money. He had his own money though. He had about $26 million, and guess what? Daddy gets half of that, regardless of what time he spent with the kids. So if you don't like your daddy, do what the judge says and get you a will and write him out of it. All right. If you have one parent who is janky, they're going to get half the money by law, unless you say something.
Yes.
I didn't know that. I did not know
it's
that.
A hierarchy. Yeah, it's a hierarchy.
That's something that the court follows all the time. Is that just that's the law?
And there's a good reason for that, because you don't want parents in probate court talking about, I taught him to ride a bike and you didn't, and I was the one who put him to bed, but I took him to the hospital at one time. You wouldn't want to have to fight that out, right? So the idea is that everyone's just 50-50 normally. The wrongful death is different because, as Attorney Weiss explained, it's for a different thing. It's for what you lost from the death, et cetera. And so that's a different thing you can fight about. But with the probate estate, 50-50 for every class, right? If you don't die with a will.
So absentee daddy gets 13 million. He should shut the hell up and
he's trying to be greedy
and let mom get all the stuff. Come on, seriously.
So his estate is worth about 26 million
before the wrongful death. Yep.
The most interesting part of the, to me, of the intestate law, which is the law that Attorney Carter is mentioning, that a lot of people miss, has to do with people who either get married again or they've lived a really interesting life and they've made a bunch of kids. So like Ludacris, I don't know if you guys heard him on Instagram. He made a rap off of T.I.'s Let Him Know, and it was fire. If you didn't hear it, you should hear it. But anyway, he mentions on there that he's got 4 kids, 2 baby mamas, and a wife, right? So if you play out his life, if he doesn't have a will, and I'm assuming Luda does because he takes care of his business, what would happen is the children who he had outside of his marriage, right? They would be on the same level of his spouse.
Oh, wow.
Because the law presumes that your spouse doesn't speak for the interests of the other children. And so it gets to be really complicated, at least in Pennsylvania. And so you have your spouse, and if you don't have a will, then those children from the other relationship have equal rights of the wife. Mm-hmm. Right. If they're your children, then you get to make decisions for your children. So you inherit everything and your children get nothing unless you die. But if you have children outside of the marriage, it's a whole different thing if you don't have a will. So that's why you need a will. So if Jason and I were married, Christina would have some objections and his actual wife would, right? And Sean was my kid from my wild youth, right? Sean would show up and be like, hey, Jason, gimme, and the court would have to decide. So yeah,
you know what, this is so interesting for the A-listers. This has actually happened to me. I had an uncle who had a child before he got married, when he got married, he did not have any children with his wife. And when he passed, he did not have a will, but he had, a substantial amount of money. And the child came in and was like, "Where's my money?" And I always thought this is wild for the child to be like, "I should get the money before," because I thought personally that the money would go directly to his wife. So now I get it. And they actually got into like some deep arguments at the funeral. So I get it. This is really good to know. All right, let's keep it moving. Speaking of argument, next up, Sexyy Red. All right, this is, I know, Attorney Carter's favorite girlfriend. Well, reports turn Attorney Carter says that she claims that $500,000 worth of jewelry, handbags, watches, and valuables were stolen from a Florida mansion she rented for her mother's birthday retreat. Now, the allegation is that a masked person entered through an unlocked door while the group was out celebrating. Now, Sexyy Red says her former security guard failed to secure the property. Now, he denies involvement and says police filed no charges against him when she tried to get him put in jail. But here's the twist. He had already sued her before this incident for unpaid wages. Now we have a burglary. Attorney Carter, we have a burglary. We have a negligence claim. We have a wage dispute. We have an unlocked door, and we have somebody pointing fingers. All right, baby, this is not a birthday retreat. This is a lawsuit with birthday balloons. All right, Attorney Carter, let me shake the room for a second, because this is what's interesting to me. He's her security, not her security company. He's her personal security, right? Mm-hmm. So is it fair for her to expect that her personal security, well, she didn't hire him to secure the property, she hired him to secure her? Does this make sense that she makes him accountable? Because while they are all out enjoying the evening and he is with her, securing her as her security guy, that the place gets broken into? Let's go with you, Attorney Carter. Tell me about this story, and does this make sense to you, or is something in the milk ain't clean, like I like to say in my courtroom?
Well, that's interesting, and that may be a good point, right? Is he, security in general, or just her security? And here's his problem there, though. Before they went on the trip, she said, "Hey, I'm gonna take my mama. We're gonna go to Florida. You know how we act." And he said, "I know y'all. All right, y'all crazy. All right, you didn't get this crazy by yourself. I need 2 other guys with me for security." And so there were actually 3 of them there. And this is his problem, is that he could say, "I was protecting Sexyy Red. I had to make sure, right, that she didn't get in a fight with nobody, on the way to the car. So I didn't have time to close up the mansion." But one of the other 2 people should have, right? And so she comes back and she's mad. She fires him that night, says, "Hey, you got all our stuff stolen." And then 8 months later, he files this lawsuit against her saying, "By the way, you owe me 80 racks from the last 2 years. You haven't been paying me all my money." And then she's like, "Wait a minute." And by the way, like you said, she called the police out. They investigated. She says, her lawyers say that he failed a lie detector test because there is some suspicion. The suspicion is, what a coincidence that if you were just random guy breaking into a house, you'd happen to break into the house with $500,000 of handbags and jewelry. That's not usually. Jason, how much can I get $500,000 if I break into your house? Because if I can, I am. All right, just tell me. Maybe don't tell me that. All right.
I don't mean no harm. Hold on, order in my court. Put that picture of Sexyy Red back up, please. I don't see nothing about her that says $500,000. It just don't. It don't say $500,000. No. I saw the pictures of her new home that she got that she's very proud of, which is nice for her and her son. It doesn't say $500,000. I just don't believe $500,000 was one thing I know about Black women that are celebrated. They not leaving their valuables out in a room, free balling to be stolen. Definitely not their Birkin bags. I just something about this story is not making sense. And let me finish. I also had security when I was married, and the security secured us. They didn't secure our house. They came in and they escorted us around. They secured us. We had other people to secure our house. So I'm a little confused about that. What were you saying, Jason?
I was going to say exactly what SL Warrior just said, which was why she's bringing all them bags and money sounds like a scam. That's what I'm thinking. I'm
That's
thinking
what I feel. I feel it's something's not right
an
here.
insurance scam. It's, you know, look, I had stacks of cash. Sean, I got stacks of cash in my closet. Go right ahead. There's there's $500,000 in there. You know,
and the other thing is, it's just happens. I don't know. Something in the milk is not clean here. I don't care. But let me ask this legal question, Jason. What does Sexyy Red actually have to prove to hold the security guard responsible? Is it a contract where he says, I'm not just securing you, I'm securing the property too? What is it that what exactly does Sexyy Red have to prove to hold him responsible?
So the first thing is exactly what you said. If she hired him or his agency or whatever, it's going to set the scope of work, what he has to do, where he has to be, what's involved with it. If he was like what you had, where his job is to make sure she gets from point A to point B safely and point B to point C safely, then if someone breaks into the house, that's not his problem. If his job was to secure the house to make sure it was safe, then all you have to do is go get Brinks Security or some other security company for, you know, $50 for the weekend, and you'll be fine. A lot of it's also going to have to do with, you know, was this really what she's claiming? And maybe, you know, look, I think it's retaliation for him filing a claim against her for unpaid wages. That's what I think.
I'm gonna go back to my original comment. I just don't know too many mother girlfriends and friends, if they got $500,000 worth of bags and jewelry in the house, that when they leave in that house, they not saying, okay, did y'all put the jewelry underneath it? Did y'all hide it? I don't care where you from. You are hiding. You are hiding your valuables. You're not putting them all in one room where someone could come in and steal it. Let's get to some of these comments real quick. All right, really quick. Alfred Singh says $500,000. Okay, girl. JP Bill says she ain't worth nothing but those flea market outfits with those flea market outfits. Nick Knack 86 says get a Ring doorbell. They might can pull that up. SL Warrior says more like Toomey outfits. SL Warrior says Big Mama had it in her bra. Oh my goodness, y'all are bad. Who else? SL Warrior. Brian and Simone Adams says surprised the mansion did not have cameras. I think they had cameras.
It did. That's how we know it was a masked person, because they saw him on camera, but the camera can't stop you. They had a Ring doorbell, but you know, it's not going to stop you.
That's a Stone.
It was a masked person.
A very hot mess. Sandra McGee said, "I'm so sick of Sexyy Red." Girl.
It was a masked person with big red hair coming out the bottom.
All right, let's go to the A-listers. A-listers, what do you guys think? Do y'all something in the milk ain't clean? A-listers, come on now. Drop down in the chat. Tell me, do y'all believe Sexyy Red? Is Sexyy Red playing with us? Or is she trying to get, I think the record sales might be a little bit low. Is she trying to pay that rent? Drop down in the chat, A-listers. Let me know what you think. What is going on here? Do we believe Sexyy Red? Drop down in the chat. I just don't know. Drop down in the chat. Do we believe Sexyy Red? Drop down in the chat, A-listers. I need to know. Is a security guard, should he be punished for this? Drop down in the chat. If you don't mind, drop down in the chat. Let me know where you stand with Sexyy Red. Do you think Sexyy Red is making this up? Let's see. SL Warrior said playing insurance fraud. Nisha Phillips says the name Sexyy Red just doesn't go for her. Tracy Eldham said nope. Afro sings a fool in their money are soon parted. Yeah, okay, I got it. That makes sense.
I think someone stole a part of her outfit. That's the problem.
This is my preliminary ruling. The case is guilty of being a legal mess. And in this case, I'm not sure, but they are saying it was designer luggage. If the door was unlocked, somebody needs to explain that. If the wages were unpaid, somebody needs to explain that too, as far as I'm concerned. And why would you ever hire a security guard to secure you if you haven't paid him? I wouldn't watch your crap either. Please. Yeah. You owe me money. I'm not watching your crap. All right. It's just.
But that piece is also kind of confusing too, because He didn't sue her for the unpaid wages till like 8 months after he had been let go. So who's waiting that long to try to get their money back too? So there are several holes in this story that just don't make sense to me.
Got it. All right. Now you know what?
You have to wait for EEOC claims to come through and that kind of stuff for unpaid wages. So that could be a reason for some of the cause of delay, and also getting time records.
But he's not alleging discrimination, right? So he didn't have to go to the EEOC for unpaid wages. Yeah.
Right.
That
well,
he
this is my thing. This is my thing. I can see why the bill has added up, because her life, she keeps calling, she pays eventually. She hasn't paid in a while because the tour isn't doing what the touring is supposed to do. The record sales aren't doing what they're supposed to do. He's still showing up, though, because he feels like he will eventually get paid. So I can see why he still shows up, especially in these celebrity situations. They usually have to wait to get paid from the record label. They're waiting for a check to come in. So I can see how she manipulated him into still working and the bill be high, because being with her for all those hours, it does add up soon. All right, everybody, we're going to take it down a little notch here, because this next story to me has to be one of the saddest things that I've seen in celebrity court in a long time. And I would like to slow the room down for this one. In this particular case, a 1-year-old child, his name is Kohen Wiley. Kohen Wiley, please say his name and a prayer go up for him and his parents. He was killed after a police officer fired into a vehicle outside of a Walmart in Senatobia, Mississippi. Ooh, I don't want to ever go there. All right, authorities have said officers were responding to a shoplifting call. Now, this is very interesting, and that the vehicle moved towards a particular officer, nearly striking one of the officers. Now, the Cohen's family, I want to go on the record, are disputing that particular account. Now, the family is demanding an independent autopsy. They also want to see the body camera footage, and they also want to see the Walmart surveillance video to see if there was actual shoplifting going on. So let's be clear, though. Regardless of all that, a baby is still dead. A family is still grieving. Now, the police account is disputed, and the public has not seen enough to simply move on. When the alleged underlying issue is shoplifting and the outcome is a dead 1-year-old, people are going to ask whether the response matched the threat. Now, I got to tell you, this is where I am definitely on the fence about this, because this is not anti-police conversation that we're going to have. This is about pro accountability. So I want everyone to lean in on this and let me know what you're thinking. So let me speak from the chest, because this one really hurts. When a child dies, right, during a police encounter, transparency should not be a favor. It, in my opinion, should be automatic. So for me, what I'm saying is exactly what the lawyers are saying. Release what can be released. Explain what can be explained, and preserve the evidence at the same time. But in this case, show the public that the system is not protecting itself before it protects the truth. Because silence does not calm people down, and that's what this police department has decided to do. In my opinion, their silence is creating a lot of suspicion. And you know how it is in our Black and brown communities. We've seen too many cases where the first official story sounds great. Oh, they tried to hit me. They tried to run me over. And then the video tells a much more complicated truth. A baby's life, in my opinion, should never become a footnote in a police report. Attorney Carter, I'm going to go to you. You've got to help me understand and explain this to me, because right now I'm just not feeling good about what the police is sharing.
No, so the standard, all right, for whether a police officer can use lethal force is if they had an objectively reasonable fear for their life. It doesn't mean that you were just scared out there out of your mind for nothing, but you have to have a reason to be scared. And then you also have to respond to that threat reasonably. And here's the problem I have with this case, is that if a car is coming at you, shooting into the car does not protect you. because the car will keep coming. Even if you hit the car, it's going to keep coming. If you hit the driver, or in this case, a poor baby, the car's still going to come. The only thing you can really do to protect yourself as an officer, if you think a car is coming at you, is to get out the way, which he does. So there's no reason to then shoot, because you not only put the innocent baby's life in danger, and I don't care what we say, you can't be mad at the baby because the baby didn't follow commands, right? The baby didn't do that, right? This baby is innocent. You put other people's lives in danger. If you hit the driver and the car keeps going, you put other Walmart shoppers in danger who did nothing wrong. And so the idea is that your behavior should have to be reasonable, even if you do fear for your life. And we don't even know if that's the case. But the sad part is it won't matter. The way it's been working is that the police can go ahead and do this. That cop won't get fired. They won't be prosecuted. But the police department, or in this case, the city, will pay that woman millions of dollars. And so basically we've given, in this particular context, the cops to have a complete license to do whatever you want to do, and then somebody else will pay for it. And we have a dead child and mothers who get compensated money. So the city's out of money. It's horrible for everybody. And I haven't seen any way to really fix this, because even when cities have a rule that you can't shoot into the car, the officers still do, and and nobody ever gets fired or prosecuted.
Attorney Turner, let me come to you really quickly, because I can only imagine you're a mother, you have 2 boys. Explain to me, why are we resulting to shooting in a car for shoplifting? What did he shoplift? The ATM machine? What exactly? Why is he actually shooting at the car over a shoplifting claim?
That's the $1 million question, and the tragic one. So they suspected that there had been diapers that had been stolen. And what happens next, and this is why there's going to be a big settlement, was completely unjustified. So in addition to what Attorney Carter said, the officer doing what's necessary to kind of abate the threat, they're also supposed to be using deadly force when they're contemplating that deadly force is going to be used against them. So what I suspect here is that ego got involved. The cop was mad and wasn't thinking. And that's why we need to expect better from them, and why they need to be trained, because individuals do things that don't make sense all the time. Individuals steal, right? Individuals fail to obey commands. But the standard for taking someone's life should be really high.
Yeah. Attorney Weiss, help me understand one last thing. Why is it that attorney right here, the lawyer here, why is he asking for an independent autopsy? What will an independent autopsy tell him?
I'm really not 100% sure what an independent autopsy can say, except maybe for the angle, but there doesn't, and it really doesn't make sense, right? Maybe because the mom is claiming she was holding the baby up and the angle of the bullet, as opposed to if he was strapped in the seat. Nobody's arguing that the child was shot. Nobody's arguing that it's not tragic. Nobody's arguing that that child's life was taken way too early. We all agree on that. And also the fact that shoplifting of diapers was the cause of this. That's what started it. However, what the police are saying, right or wrong, and I'm going to say this very clearly, not justifying the shooting. The shooting was not justified. But what they're saying is that they were fleeing and they were using that vehicle as a weapon against the police. And I think the police are going to go ahead and they're going to try to say something along the lines of felony murder going on here. Not right, not wrong, just an analysis of what I'm thinking. They're going to say that the felony, the shoplifting of the diapers, misdemeanor. But the using of the vehicle to go towards the police, that's going to be the main question. Regardless, mom should be paid and this child should be alive.
I totally get it. It's so funny how convenient that argument is, which is bullshit in my opinion. And I think Afrosine may be onto something here. She said the witness accounts where they're chasing after the car shooting. So maybe that's why he want an autopsy to see the direction of the bullet. So if the bullet came behind the child, you guys help me with this. If the bullet came from them shooting after the car passed them, does that make a difference than them shooting when the car allegedly was coming towards them? Attorney Carter?
Here's what we know. I'm sorry. I was just going to say, here's what we know. Whenever an attorney seeks an independent autopsy, it's because they question the credibility of the autopsy that's being performed. All of the things that you're mentioning in terms of the angles and all of that goes to credibility. So if you can get information from the corpse that discredits what the police is saying, then if they're not telling the truth about one thing, then they probably aren't telling the truth about the whole thing. So that's what I suspect is the reason for the independent autopsy.
Got it. Generally, 1970, 71. I'm with you. Law enforcement is really getting on my nerves. They really are getting on my nerves. I want to put them all in jail. They are completely out of control, and there's no one to reel them in. It's just something interesting about that. Okay. Sad story. Everybody, please lift up a prayer for this family. Hey, let's just vote right now. What are your thoughts about this? Do you think the police did too much in this case? Over $20 diapers. I don't care if he stole the whole wall of diapers. Is it worth killing a 1-year-old? Is it worth shooting a car? No. Why not chase the car? Why not run the license plate and find the car? Why do you shoot the car? Drop down in the chat. Is this worth it? Was this worth it? Should the police have more accountability for this? Drop down in the chat, everybody. I want to hear what you got to say about this. Is this worth it? Should the police release the video quickly in fatal incidents involving children? What are your thoughts? Drop down in the chat. I need to know. Brian and Simone Adams says police did too much. Nisha Phillips says, hold on, were the police behind the car or in front of the car? I know that's what we're trying to figure out, Nisha Phillips. SL Warrior, they could have just ran the plate or something. I agree. There's got to be a better way of doing that. All right. To me, the difference between law and public opinion, the law may need time, but grief does not wait patiently. This family, this community deserves a better transparency for this particular case. And I'm so glad that they went to Attorney Crump, because Attorney Crump is definitely going to put the heat on this particular case that we need. All right, so my preliminary ruling here is that police department is guilty, in my opinion. And if they're not guilty of doing anything wrong, they're definitely guilty of not being transparent, because something in the milk ain't clean, and I'm sticking to it. Speaking of not clean, let's keep it rolling. The next case that we've got coming up is Jelly Roll and Bunnie XO. Now, reports say Jelly Roll filed for divorce in Tennessee after nearly 10 years of marriage. That's a long time, citing irreconcilable difference. The irreconcilable difference is that you're no longer fat. All right. Skinny and got a little attitude. From what has been reported, this does not look like a scorched earth divorce, is what they're telling us. It's neutral. It looks like an agreement oriented, and they are all on the same page. But do not let the word amicable fool you. Even peaceful divorces involving money, property, debt, support, business interests, and brand value is coming into the conversation. The wife says, we want to do this amicably, but I also need to know how much you're really worth, because we still love each other. That's beautiful. But the court says, how do we divide these assets? All right, celebrity couples love to announce an amicable breakup like they're launching a wellness brand. But we all know behind the closed doors, everybody, one is either protecting and one's trying to get what's rightfully theirs. All right, let's go to you, Attorney Carter. Tell me what's going on here, because, you know, when he was really overweight, they did seem like they were, you know, a happy couple.
Yeah, it's apparent to me that Jelly Roll is a sorcerer. That when they meet, she is a high-end escort, attractive. She's got her own crib in Vegas, has a luxury car. He is just out of prison, 500 pounds, a struggling underground white rapper, okay? And somehow she decides that she doesn't want to keep sleeping with men who will pay her money, but sleep with his broke fat butt, all right? That makes him a sorcerer. Then they get married for all this time, and 9 years and 9 months into the marriage, which coincidentally is 3 months before 10 years, and 10 years matters in Tennessee, he decides, we don't need to be married anymore because, by the way, I've really blown up in my career. But I still want to have a baby with you. We can still have a family together. I just want to make sure that legally you don't become a long-term spouse and really get all the money. And then they filed this agreement to get divorced, and apparently she's fine with it. She's like, hey, I was willing to give up sleeping with men who paid me to sleep with your broke butt. I'm more than willing to have a baby with you, even though you're trying to cut me out of most of the money. The man's a sorcerer.
Attorney Turner, speaking of divorces, if the public says the timing near the 10-year mark feels strategic, what say you? I mean, she was there through all that other stuff. Why would she walk away from it now that there's a payday here?
Bunnie did support him, and I just assume Attorney Carter saying that he was a sorcerer, like they were Jedi mind tricks. And I think that the tricks that he pulled were probably below the belt. Because that tends to lose their mind because they're getting some kind of excitement going. But in this case, it's interesting. So they end up, as Attorney Carter said, saying it's amicable and they're best friends. But the devil's in the details here. So they were trying to have a baby through artificial means, assisted reproductive technology, and it didn't work, right? And it may not have worked for a variety of reasons, but they were unsuccessful. They had 4 miscarriages. She was very emotional about it. And apparently on Mother's Day, which you might imagine would be pretty intense if you were somebody who had had a bunch of failed pregnancies, she gets upset and she storms out, and whatever they were fighting about, she says to him, well, you should just file for divorce, right? But she didn't really want her boo filing for divorce. She was upset. And then he was like, bet. And so it must have been something he was thinking about for a while, because rumor has it he's already dating. And this just happened a month ago. And so she must be the most evolved escort in the history of escorts, because she's like, oh, yeah, it's fine. Oh, yeah, he's dating somebody else. I wish him well. She's incredibly evolved. And so I actually, if she could call me and hook me up with whatever drugs she's taking, because I don't have those kind of drugs and I don't have that kind of understanding. But
it's them jelly rolls.
That's the other thing. They're going to co-parent together. So they have these embryos that were created, and they're still going to try to have a baby. And they're going to raise.
At least you can get something out of this. All right, everybody, let's make sure we stay close to look at our time here. All right, JP Mills says Jelly Roll's under investigation for sexual trafficking, and Nisha Phillips said, "What trafficking? What? He couldn't even find it." Y'all are so bad. Y'all are so bad. That is so bad. Nisha Phillips says she's been having sexual relations with other men the entire marriage. I don't know what they ever had going on. People play too much about marriage. Yeah. Jelly Roll said, I am fine now. Goodbye. Oh my God, that's just so bad. All right, so my preliminary ruling in this case is that Jelly Roll, you guilty. You wrong for that. If she had to put up with you when you were 500 pounds, you should allow her to put up with you when you were 170 pounds, brother. And now you were broke then and big. Now you tiny and got money. Come on, brother. Let's figure that one out. All right, let's go. Let's go back to my A-listers. A-listers, what do you think is going on here? Is this Jelly Roll getting out of the marriage because it's that 10-year mark and he doesn't have to pay? Or is he really over the ex-escort? Drop down in the chat. Let me know, because a lot of this ain't making no sense to me.
Well, he talked to God. He only talks to God when he needs a favor, so it's all good.
All right, going from talking to God to a story that's been lighting up my Instagram feed. Yep, you heard it right. We're now going to talk about Big Tigger. Now, this is an interesting story because reports say Big Tigger, whose legal name is Darian Morgan, was arrested. Yep, he was arrested, guys, over the weekend on aggravated battery and child cruelty charges. Now, the allegations reportedly stem from a domestic incident involving his wife with claims of visible injury. Now, it's interesting because when she went on Instagram, she wouldn't say that he did it. Then when people started assuming he did it, she then said he didn't do it. Something about this story is really crazy, but she also said that there was child cruelty, and the child cruelty charge is reportedly connected to allegations that a child was present or exposed to the incident. That's something that we need to know, everybody. He did not put his hands on his child. Big Tigger has publicly denied the allegations, and this is where celebrity image meets criminal court, because you can have a trusted voice like his, you can be a respected brand like his, and you can have fans like his, but the courtroom's not trying to hear that. The courtroom wants to see the evidence of the claims that she charged. Now, let's be direct. Public love is not a legal defense. Being familiar does not make someone innocent. Being famous does not make someone guilty. And being likable and having 30 years of no record of this type does not erase the need for facts. In the Black community, we understand both sides. We know false accusations can destroy people, but we also know domestic violence is real, families hide pain, and we would never have protected people who absolutely we knew did something like this. So this case requires maturity. Do not convict without facts. Do not dismiss because you like him and his PR. All right, let's go to you, Attorney Carter. Explain to me what's going on and how shocked are we to see Big Tigger in this situation?
I'm so shocked. I want Jason to answer the question. I just want to make sure to see how he pronounces it. Go ahead, Jason. Do this tongue twister.
Big Tigger.
Go ahead, explain it.
What was the question? I was too focused on saying things right.
No, so let's explain just a minute what happens here.
Yeah.
The incident happens in May, and he comes home one day. She waiting for him. She want to talk about some texts he had from a coworker, and he like, you talking about old stuff. And he picks up his phone and start recording her. She slaps the phone, grabs it from him. They start fighting over the phone. She eventually goes downstairs to the basement, starts unplugging stuff. At that point, he comes and shoves her, and allegedly, and she hits her head on the wall, busted face open, and now he has to take her to urgent care. He takes her to urgent care and says, what happened? He says, oh, she fell down, and she doesn't say anything. But the attendant there in urgent care is not convinced. And so they file a report with the police. And then a month later in June, the police come around and say, look, girl, this is looking suspicious. She says, okay, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what happened. This is what happened. The son did not witness this personally. He was upstairs, all right, but heard it. And so it's an important thing to remember, when you fight with the kids, not only not in the same room, you need to go get a suite at the Marriott to have your fights, all right? Do not do it in the house with the kids.
Right. Fight like you're having sex. Keep it quiet. When the kids are around.
This is crazy because, I mean, you know, the reason why I asked the question was, you know, he's always been known to be an upstanding personality, just an upstanding, one of the few in the entertainment industry that didn't have a ton of baby mamas, you know, wasn't out here doing crazy things. I do want to get to a comment that Sandra McGee says she's known for filing false allegations on her exes. I thought it was interesting as we started to unpack her background, how dicey it was, number one, but number two, how did she end up with Big Tigger? Attorney Turner, you have anything to say about this relationship or what's going on here?
What, how they got together and how she put it on him and he ended up with somebody that you wouldn't suspect? I mean, y'all have all fallen for that, you know, not to put your business out there, but what I think is for domestic violence cases, they're tricky because nobody really knows what goes on behind closed doors with people's relationships. And so I don't say this to try to disparage him. I'm just saying that the story does track, and whether or not he's been accused of something like this before, to me is, well, all we know is he hasn't been prosecuted for it and he hasn't been publicly accused of it. But the way that the facts are described, it sounds like an argument that got out of hand.
Mm-hmm. And does that matter? That's the question that I want to know, because it just appears to me as a black man, I gotta be careful. It's like you can't do anything. Like,
You
clearly
can't push
she's in this
people
state.
and have them bust their head open. Yeah, you can't do that to your wife.
I'm saying, of course not. But I'm saying it's like, did it happen the way she said it happened? Like, how do we know?
I guess
Did she trip over when he shoved her? Did she trip over something, or did he shove her so hard that it bust her head wide open when she did hit the wall?
Well, I guess the question is, which time was she lying? And that's the question. Did she lie at the urgent care when she told the story, or did she lie afterwards? Or are neither one of those true? Or are they partial truths? I mean, they could have been in a yelling and screaming match, and she could have stormed off and fell and hit her head, and that's when it happened. And the kid heard that, and guess what? You now have endangerment of a child charge against you, and all you were doing is arguing.
That's scary to me.
It's very scary. So again, and unlike what somebody just put in the comments, that they can't even Sandra McGee says, they can't even keep it quiet in the judge's chambers. Again, keep it quiet. Have your arguments. Shh, keep it low when the kids are around.
So let me ask you this, Attorney Turner.
For you, eggshell plaintiff.
Let me ask you this question really quickly, Shaitan.
Yes.
After Singh, we know that she has a dicey background. After Singh brings it to our attention, she left her child in a car for hours to gamble in a casino, accused all the children's fathers of, where did it go? Of abuse in multiple states. One child was taken from her and then went missing after she lost custody. Does this behavior and back history is it taken into account at all when the judges look at this particular case, or it doesn't matter? This is a domestic violence case.
It goes to credibility. And I think that where this is going to come down is that Big Tigger did I say it right, Carter? I struggle.
Just want to make sure you got the T in there. Get the T in.
But yeah, is admitting to how this escalated, but not admitting to the final part. That's really going to be the problem. Like there was this debate about the phone. There was this, there was that. It's going to be whenever you are in a domestic violence case and what you are defending against is, I didn't shove her that hard, right? It's a question of degree and not of complete denial of the violence. You have a bit of a problem.
All right, got it. All right, we only have a minute and a half left on the show, everybody. All right, A-listers, I need you to get ready right now, please. A-listers, get ready. I need you to find out who's guilty and who's not guilty. This is the time for final deliberation. Drop your verdicts in the comments right now as we go down through the cases really quickly. Case number 1, Takeoff's parents. Is the dad guilty or not guilty of trying to do a money grab? Drop down in the chat really quickly. We're going to give one response, and then we're going to find guilty or not guilty. Is Takeoff's dad guilty or not guilty of a money grab? Drop down in the chat, please, really quickly. Drop down in the chat. Is Takeoff's dad guilty or not guilty of a money grab? Drop down in the chat. I need somebody to please drop down in the chat and vote and give me a verdict who's guilty or not guilty. Please drop down in the chat. Dad is guilty. Bronny Simone. All right, Takeoff's dad, you've been found guilty. Guilty in celebrity court of public opinion. Case number 2, Sexyy Red. Is Sexyy Red security guard guilty? Sexyy Red security guard guilty or not guilty for securing the bags? All right, for real. Sexyy Red guilty or not guilty for securing the bag? Drop down in the chat really quickly. Is Sexyy Red guilty or not? Is the security guard guilty or not guilty? Drop down in the chat. Is the security guard guilty or not guilty? All right, Nikki next says not guilty in the court of public opinion, celebrity court. Sexyy Red security has been found not guilty. Next up, is Jelly Roll guilty of upgrading now that he got a new body? Is Jelly Roll guilty of upgrading now that he's got a new body? Drop down in the chat. Is Jelly Roll guilty or not guilty? Drop down in the chat. I need to know right now. Is he guilty or not guilty? Is Jelly Roll guilty or not guilty? Tracy Odom says not guilty. All right, Jelly Roll, you have been found not guilty in celebrity court of public opinion. And last but not least, Big Tigger. Is Big Tigger guilty or not guilty of these serious allegations? What do we know? Drop down in the chat really quickly. Is Big Tigger? All right, Nisha Phillips says not guilty. All right, Big Tigger, you've been found not guilty in the court of public opinion. All right, everybody, this is just really simple. Tonight's lesson is simple. Wrongful death money can reopen wounds people thought grief had buried. Security is not just a title. It is a responsibility, but you got to make sure you have a contract of what they're supposed to do. When a baby dies during a police encounter, transparency should not be something you have to beg for. And an amicable divorce still has legal consequences, and a celebrity goodwill does not erase criminal exposure. This is why this show exists, because the law tells us what can be proven. Culture tells us what people recognize, though, outside. And the public opinion tells us what the streets, the comments, the aunties, the group chats, the A-listers, and the church ladies be talking about when we are all not listening. The court may wait for evidence, but the public always notice behaviors. Everyone, thank you so much for watching Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. And everyone have a great weekend. This is Al Reynolds, and we're signing out. And court is now adjourned.